Amen. And I'm going to be honest with you right up front. I don't know how far into my notes I'm going to get because I can just feel the presence of God in here right now. Right now. Right now, right now, right now, right now. No, I'm prophesying to you right now, right now, right now. I don't know what you've been waiting on, but it's right now. I don't know what you're hoping for, but it's right now. I don't know how long out into the distant you've set your breakthrough moment, but let me tell you something. It's right here, right now, right now. Everything changes right now. My breakthrough starts right now. My healing starts right now. My deliverance is right now. Oh, come on, somebody. Victory. Right now. I'm talking about right now, right now, right now, right now. Shut up. You know, because I think some of us, we think that something else has an influence over our moment, over our breakthrough, over our deliverance, over our healing, over the floodgates being open. And let me tell you who's in charge. Well, the Lord God is in control. That's kind of what the enemy wants you to think, is that God's holding back from you. That God sees the struggle you're in. God sees the pain you feel. God feels the weight of your depression, and he's looking at you saying, just a little bit longer. No, that's not the message God has for you. No, God's given you dominion. Okay, dominion, like freedom, like we say it all the time, but I don't think we know it. No, this is my Bible. Man, I'm telling you something. If you're not in love with the Word of God, you got to get there. There's certain things that you don't like until you've had them. How many of you have raised kids? And there's certain stuff, and they'll swear, no, I don't like that. I don't like that. I don't like that, and I don't know what it is. Kinsley said my name like 5,000 times yesterday, but on top of that, she said, I don't like that quite a few times. I don't like that. I don't like that. I don't like that. Have your kids ever said, I don't like that, but now they love it? And how many times have you said, I don't like that? I hear believers all the time say, I don't like, fellowship. It's because you haven't ever had any. Hello? It's like, hey, you decide. You decide today. You decide today. No, right now. Right now. I'm stepping into my freedom. I've been given dominion. Your freedom, free dominion. Okay, free dominion. Everybody say free dominion. No, say it like it means. Say free dominion. It's the ability to exercise liberty and utilizing your dominion authority. And you have dominion authority, not over people, but God gave man a dominion over everything else he created. You have authority over everything in pursuit of fulfilling the purpose and the plan of God for your life. And God's not sitting back like tapping the brakes. He's like, no, hey, this is your authority. This is your moment. You've been brought into the kingdom for such a time as this, right now. Right now. No, we're going to get somebody free today. No, I'm telling you, there's a couple of you. Let me ask you something. How many of you in the last couple years, maybe you've been through something, and and in the middle of it, you're thinking, this just can't be right. No way. I mean, it's taxed you to the point that where you weren't certain that you were even going to make it through. How many have been through something in the last couple of years? And it's like, hold a hand up. Just let people look at you for just a minute. Some of you guys haven't been through anything. It's like, how many have been through multiple things? Like lift up both hands, both. Some of you been like to the brink, to the edge. I mean, like so many times that when we look up chaos in the dictionary, your address is there. Lift up two hands and a foot. I mean, it's like, no, we've been through some stuff, and this isn't right. And I need something right now. I want to show you a verse This is one that you want to memorize. It's in the book of Isaiah. In the book of Isaiah 46:13. 46:13, memorize it in the New Living Translation. Look, this is God talking. I'm ready. You ready? I'm ready. You ready? I'm ready. You ready? I'm ready. You ready? Hey, you got God looking at you saying, I'm ready. You ready? I'm ready. You ready? Hey, I'm waiting. Are you ready? For I'm ready to set things right. You're right. That ain't right, so let's set it right. Not in the distant future. Right now. Oh, sorry. I'm going to go Pentecostal on you. You know, I know it might not be super popular in our current cultural society. You know, probably things I might say things today that might rub you wrong. Frankly, Scarlett, is that too old of a... No, I just mean, is that reference too old? Like people are going, what does that mean? You know, is that too old? Yeah. Stephen's over there going, yeah. Because it's like, I guess you had to see the movie. Because frankly, Scarlett, I don't give a... Have you seen the dam out in the river? I don't give one of those. Okay. Here's what I believe. See, God's still healing. He still heals. God still delivers. God still brings the breakthrough. God's still speaking. I said, God's still speaking. God's still on the throne. God still, he still gets the final word. And he said, I'm ready. I'm not waiting. I'm not talking about putting it off into the distant future. I'm talking about right now. Right now. Look at your neighbor and say, right now. I won't make a Pentecostal out of you yet. And I don't know. Kevin told you guys last week, that I was going to Georgia or something. And I had several people ask me how the trip was. I never got out of town. I got ready to go, and had a little situation, in my physical body, which I don't deal with those very well. And so I got a little irritated because, I ain't trying to get healed. The enemy's trying to take my healing. See, because I already am healed. I walk in divine health. Like you can say I have a cold. No, I'm rebuking one. I ain't having it. And I found myself in a situation and it wasn't right. I'm like, this ain't right. This ain't right. I'm supposed to be with my guys. I'm supposed to be with some friends. I'm supposed to be having fun. Instead, Shelby has me locked in the bedroom for 10 days. 10 days, locked up in the prison. Every once in a while, the guard would come by, make sure I was still in there. I'd slide the slider and sneak out to the outdoors every once in a while. And then I'd see her reflection through one of the windows, and I'd run back in and get... Oh. In the middle of all that, I'm thinking, this ain't right, but I'm going to tell you what. Here's what I know. Here's what I believe. See, I believe that my final outcome will always be better than my current condition. I said, I believe that my final outcome will always be better than my current condition. And then I got God speaking to me. I'm ready to set this right. I'm ready to set this right. You ready? I'm ready. You ready? I'm ready. You ready? I'm ready. And it's like talking to Kinsley for a minute. It's like, are you ready? Are you ready? I'm ready. Are you ready? I'm ready. And I'm like, dear God, please. I get it. You're ready. And he goes, well, what are you doing? Let's go. I'm ready. I'm not talking about the distant future. I'm talking about right now. I'm talking about right now. Let's go. Let's, you know what? If you want to, you can activate your faith. You can build the fire of faith, and you can go right now, or you can sit back and wait for something else to happen. Maybe that's where some of you guys are. Is that, and listen, not trying to put anybody down, just trying to flip on lights and let's have a little revelatory meeting here. Like, is it all right with you? I mean, it's spring break, so we ain't even got school tomorrow. And family dinner tonight, right? What are they serving? Hot dogs. Okay, we just stay here till the dogs are ready. I ain't no hurry. It's like, and if you got something to do, someplace to go, just exit quietly, right? Or if you ain't never been through anything, like if you haven't had any struggles, if you haven't had any challenges, if you haven't had anything that you're thinking this ain't right, well then you probably want to pull your phone out right now and see if you can check, how the Final Four is going or how it went or whatever that's happening, or I don't know, invest in Robinhood or do something. Leave us alone. We're about ready to have church in here. Okay, when's that going to happen? Right now. Man, I'm going to tell you, maybe you don't get it that something went wrong. And the enemy's trying to beat you to death with what went wrong. And you got thoughts in your head going, look what the devil has done. Well, let me tell you what the Spirit of God's saying. Look what the Lord has done. Man, you know what? It's time to elevate your eyes and begin to recognize that, hey, I got a moment. This moment is mine. This is my right now moment. I'm not leaving here the way that I came in. This is the Bible. This is my Bible. I am who this says I am. I am not who the world says I am. I'm not what this current circumstance is trying to label me as. No, I am who God says I am. I have what God says I have. I may not be using it, but as right now as that's about ready to change, I'm going to start activating everything that God's put in my power. He's given me free dominion. I'm going to begin to operate in free dominion. Liberty to exercise dominion over any given situation in a passionate pursuit to fulfill the purpose and the plan of God. When? Right now, right now, right now, right now. I'm not going to think the same. I'm not going to talk the same. I'm not going to walk the same. I'm not going to act the same. I'm going to act like who God says I am. When are you going to do that? Look at somebody close to you and say, right now. Talking about right now. Hey, you doing all right? Right now. I think a lot of us are under the impression that Christianity promises that we're going to have an easy life. Because Jesus said, there's a force that's trying to kill, steal, and destroy. It's in John chapter 10. I just want to every once in a while throw out a verse so that you think I'm using the Bible. But he said, there's a force that comes to kill, steal, and destroy. But I came that you might have life, Zoe, more life than death, more hope than no hope, more peace than chaos, more provision than lack, more healing than sickness. I came that you would have life in abundance. We're talking about an overflowing, abundant life. Don't buy into this thing that God's not really interested in some of the stuff that some of us. Can I just tell you something? Jesus came that you might have an abundant life. Don't be afraid to believe God for abundance. Be ashamed if you don't. You know what we got to quit doing? We got to quit living as if we don't have God. Now, I know you got God, but if you got God, but we can't tell the difference between you who got God and those who ain't got God. I'm not talking about you so squeaky clean and like you're perfect, because we all know you ain't perfect. I'm talking about that even in the midst of the craziness that I've created, I got a God who's looking at me saying, right now, right now. Right now. See, Christianity doesn't promise that you're not going to face enemy forces that have risen up against you. The Bible doesn't teach us that you ain't ever going to have a hard day. Like if you got enough Jesus juice on you, like you don't even have to buy gas. Just thinking about gas is depressing. I'm thinking about praying about this. Pray about it with me. Yeah, I'm serious. I'm thinking about hooking up maybe at some gas station someplace, and we could promote it this way: God answers prayer. And for the first chunk of time, because how many of you like paying? What is it right now? $4.40. I know you guys quit looking. You just roll up, get out and pray in tongues or something the whole time you're filling up. I think it's like $4.40. Would it answer prayer if gas was suddenly $3.40? Like right now? So like what if we paid $1 a gallon for people for a while? And then we stood out there with a shirt on that said, God answers prayer. We know that even people who don't pray are praying that gas prices come down. Well, here's your breakthrough right now. And then you got a bunch of little kids with a shirt that says, hey, can I pray for you? And then we just hand out little cards and they could write whatever they wanted. We could pray for them, do whatever. Some of us are under the impression that if God's really real in our life, that gas won't be as expensive for us. But sometimes you got to go through. How many have been through something? Oh, come on. Hold your hand up. Like you have to engage today. You've been through something. Sometimes you got to go through to get to. I said, sometimes you got to go through to get to. And you've been through some stuff, but you're still standing. Oh, the enemy hasn't brought that part up yet, has he? No, you are still standing. You're still believing. You're still taking steps of faith. You're still pressing in. You're still inhaling and exhaling. You're still demonstrating the goodness of God. You're still elevating your voice and saying, all my life you have been faithful. All my days you've been good to me. You're still confessing. You're still moving. And let me just tell you something. Well, maybe you've been through something that's bigger than anything you've ever thought of, but it's because you're going to something that's bigger than anything you ever thought of too. Sometimes you got to go through to get to. Hello, somebody. There's some folks who went through some stuff, right? Joseph went through the pit to get to the palace. Israel went through the desert to get to the promised land. Paul went through the storm to get to Rome. Ask somebody, say, did Joe stay in the pit? Come on, look at him and ask him. Some of you act like you already know the answer. Did Daniel stay in the lion's den? Did Jonah stay in the whale? Did Jesus stay in the tomb? I ain't staying in this mess either. I'm going through to get to. I said I'm going through to get to. I'm going through to get to. I'm on my way to something that's going to empower me to humiliate hell. And I'm telling you what, it's going to be better at the end than it was in the middle. Well, you know what, preacher? I've tried to believe that Bible stuff, but it just doesn't work. It's like Romans 8:28. Most of us can quote this one, right? For we know. This is something we're supposed to know. We know that all things, everybody say all things. We know all things work together for good. Well, how's God? This isn't right. God couldn't possibly be using this. All those things work together for good to those that love God, to those who are called according to his purpose. All things work. See, let me just tell you something. As we just look at this verse, all things could work together for good for them that love God. But some of us love things more than we love God. And see, if you love things more than you love God, this verse don't work very well for you. Because it's out of order. I don't know about you, but when I walk up to the Diet Pepsi machine, and I want one, right? Like especially if it's in a bottle. I don't like the cans, but if it's a bottle, Diet Pepsi in the bottle, we are on. Hand me some peanuts, and we're gonna have a party. Okay, it's a party in a bottle. You got to take a drink of the Diet Pepsi. You got to open it up. You're going to put some of them salted peanuts in there, and you're going to, oh my gosh. If you haven't tried it, don't say you don't like that. I don't like that. Have you tried it? No. Well, then you don't even know. Okay. But if I walk up to the machine, I don't care how many bags of peanuts I've purchased. If I walk up to the machine and there's a sign that says out of order, I don't start cramming money in there. Why? Because I'm smarter than that. I mean, I'm not the smartest guy in the earth, but I'm smart enough to know if it's out of order, don't invest in it. Some of us aren't very bright. Our life is out of order and we keep investing. He said all things work together for them that love God. So you got to love God more than you love the thing. And when you're loving God more than you love things, all of a sudden things don't really matter. And then when things look like they ain't working right, you know it don't make any difference what it looks like, feels like, smells like, tastes like. When I get to the end, it's going to work together for my good. Why? Because all things work together for good for those that love God, and especially if I'm called according to his purpose. You know, the Bible does say that many are called, but few are chosen. Many are called, but few are chosen. See, here's another thing that I believe. I believe that all things can work together for your good, but they don't have to. Because, you know, it's one thing to be called, another thing to be chosen. And you're thinking, well, didn't God pick me? And that's not really you're taking the verse out of context when you break it down and study it. Put it this way. To be called is to receive an invitation. To be chosen is to attend. It's to make a choice to answer that call. See, you've been called of God. Like this could be your right now moment. But if you don't attend, if you don't engage, if you don't participate, your moment's going to pass you by just like the rest of them have. But you have this thing, and the enemy's trying to get you to look at what you've been through. What you need to do is shift the table just a little bit and start saying, yeah, but look at what I'm going to. No, I'm going to something that's bigger, something that's better, something that's brighter, something that's stronger, something that's more effective, something that has greater impact. I'm going to be who God's called me to be. Yeah, but, you know, the people I've been waiting on, you know, and it's like I'm going to have a breakthrough when this happens. When this happens, see, you got to be careful because you're putting your hope in things more than you are your hope in God. And a lot of us, you know, we're kind of like the guy, what is it? Is it John 5 maybe? It's either Matthew, Mark, Luke, or John. It's one of those. And it's somewhere between 1 and 21. I think it's 5. You know, I think it's the 5th chapter of one of those books. You know, remember, it's the story of Jesus when he gets to the pool of Bethesda, and he sees the paralyzed guy there. And Jesus walks up to the paralyzed guy, and what does he say to him? Would you like to be well? Would you like to be well? Basically, we could just break it down and make it very simple for you to get. Jesus walks up and says, would you like what I can offer? Would you like to have what I could give you? And what's the guy's response? I can't. That's not one of the proper answers to this question. Like that's not even a legitimate answer. Would you like what I have to offer? I can't. We know you can't because if you could, you probably would. So if you could, you wouldn't be where you are. So we already get that you can't. Okay, so we're not surprised that you haven't because you can't. But do you want what I have to give you? This guy's paralyzed. This guy's paralyzed. Why is he paralyzed? Well, he explains it. Every time, you know, the water begins to bubble, you know, at certain times, angels come down and they stir the water begins to bubble, and whoever gets in first gets made whole, but I can't because I ain't got nobody that's willing to do for me what I can't do. See, why is he paralyzed? Because he's waiting on somebody else to do something. He's got a dependency problem. It's like, well, you're going to walk in forgiveness when they come begging for it. You're going to walk in healing when you start feeling better. You're going to have financial security when more money starts rolling in. Hello, somebody. You're paralyzed by dependency. Well, I'm going to engage when you treat me the way you should treat me. Well, guess what? That might not ever happen in your life. So your right now is way on down the road someplace. What did Jesus say to the paralyzed guy when he said, I can't? I love the fact that Jesus ignored his stupid response. How many are grateful that God still acts that way in your life too? Come on. Come on, I have said some stupid stuff to God. Okay, and I'll blame it on the fever or something. I blame it on, look, it's Kinsley's fault because she said pop so many times that I just lost my mind. It's like, but thank God sometimes he just doesn't hold you accountable to some of the dumb things you've said. I think we ought to just take a moment and say law. You read your Bible? Selah, it's in the book of Psalms. Over and over and over, like hundreds of times. Selah. It doesn't mean law. Say law. Law. No, I mean, you should stop, pause, calmly think about this for a minute. That he doesn't respond to your stupid stuff. Do you want what I have to offer? I can't. Shut up. That's kind of what he said. I love Jesus. He just said, stand up. Oh, wait a minute. That's not fair to say stand up to a paralyzed guy. Why didn't Jesus say, hey, you know what I'm going to do? You know those angels that come and make the water bubble? They work for me. So I tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to tell them right now. I'm going to tell the angels, make the water bubble on the count of 3. Are you ready? 1. You getting ready over there? Oh, man, the angels are going to come. They'll work for me. Are you ready? How many? 2. He could have had like a tent revival. But he didn't do that. He could have said, I tell you what I'm going to do. I'm good with water. Ask my mama. Ask the people at the wedding. I can make water do stuff that water doesn't do. So I'll make it bubble when you get in. Or maybe he could have done this. Maybe here's what Jesus could have done. Looking for a little guy. There are no little people in this church. I mean that's not true. Well, yeah, but I don't want to do it with a her. Okay, I mean I'm not saying that you're large. You're huge. Okay, but Jesus, come here, bro. I found me one. Don't take this personal. Okay, so just for a minute, just sit there and act like paralyzed. Here's what Jesus. Come here, paralyzed. Because I realize you really have some acting skill. Like what you just did was so impressive. I just want the whole world to see it. Okay, act like you're paralyzed. No, do it with the same exuberant commitment that you had just a second ago when no one was looking. Your tongue was hanging out. You look super pathetic. You look like you've been stuck there for like 38 stinking years. You've been carried out there, dropped off, and is always waiting on somebody else to do something so that he can have his breakthrough. He's dependent on his breakthrough. He depends on others for the breakthrough. He depends on others for the healing. He depends on others for his right now moment, and he's laying right at the edge. Oh, how close can you get to your healing and yet be so far away? I'm telling you, some of y'all are paralyzed right now. Right now. I mean, you could be having your breakthrough moment right now, but you're still waiting. You're still waiting for somebody else to do something. You're still waiting for some situation to change. You're still waiting for Jesus to come down and say, okay, come here, Nick. You're wireless, right? Don't worry about it. No, it's just keep it on. It looks really cool. All you got to do is hold that. Stand up here. Just stand there. Hold that. Now, it's not that I couldn't lift him. I don't think my pants would take it. Okay. So here I'm Jesus, and I'm carrying my paralyzed people around. And I'm going to show the power of Jesus in my life unless I drop him off the backside. And then it's a good thing he's paralyzed. He shouldn't feel the bump. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take you out into the water, and you're going to get baptized, okay? Are you ready? Okay, Jesus could have waded out into the water. And now remember, don't use your legs because you're paralyzed. And there. And the sucker probably would have drowned. Why didn't Jesus do what we think Jesus should do? Why didn't Jesus look at the paralyzed guy and say, you know the people who drop you off, I'm going to have them drop you in? Why didn't Jesus do something that made sense? Because we walk by faith, not by sight. Well, the way I see it, see, that's your problem, is that you're waiting to see it the way you see it. But your right now doesn't come the way you see it. And Jesus makes a statement to him. He walks up to the paralyzed guy. He goes, you look kind of goofy. You just laying around life. You watching other people have their breakthrough. You're watching other people get their healing. You're watching other people make their way into the water. He's surrounded with people in similar conditions, which might beg the question, who you hanging with? Have you surrounded yourself with people who understand your condition? Something that's said a lot, and I'll just take this moment to address it. Something that's said a lot. I've had people share it with me when they come in and they visit, and on their way out, they're like, wow, you know what's crazy? I had a lot of people tell me not even to talk to you about it. You know, don't talk to Thom. Don't talk to Pastor about it. Don't talk to the pastor about it and stuff, because I'm thinking, you might be hanging with the wrong people. You know, if you don't want to talk to somebody who will tell you, you don't have to lay there. If you'd rather talk to somebody who says, yeah, I get it. I understand. You should just stay there for a while, because you know what? You shouldn't expect anything different than this. Because this is what life does to you. You believe God for the first, how old are you? 10 minutes of your life. And then the next 38 years, you just lay around with incredible excuses why you ain't making any more progress. Why you still mad at the same people you were mad at 32 years ago. Trying to think of a nice way to say it. Oh, that's easy for you to say. Oh, just tell them, and you'll be the one that leaves offended. It's usually what happens. See, you can justify your paralysis, or you can demonstrate your obedience. But you can't do both at the same time. See, if you're the same place you were a couple years ago, if you're the same place you were a couple months ago, shoot. See, I don't want you to be the same place you were a couple hours ago. How did the breakthrough happen? Well, Jesus said something. God doesn't talk to me. It's because you never obey. You do realize that when, okay, I'm going to go kind of quick for a second, and so that you can get to the ice cream thing. But faith is the first rung, right, of the ladder. Forgiveness is the second one, right? Freedom is the third. Faithful is next. After faithfulness comes fruitful, and fruitful leads to favor. Let's just get to that part right there for a second. Okay, so faith comes by hearing by the word of God. But you don't hear God if there's no intention to obey God. Because God doesn't tell you stuff to enlighten you. He tells you things to empower you. Okay, and James 1, it says, we're not going to be a hearer only, but a doer of the word. Well, yeah, God doesn't talk to me. Well, why would he? Like, if you don't do the written part, what makes you think you're actually going to do the spoken part? Right? It's like, do you really need a word from God that says forgive? Do you really need a word from God that says, hey, don't worry? Do you really need a word from God? No, you got written word. And when Jesus speaks, the last thing you want to do is think about it. Like when Jesus speaks to you, the last thing you want to do is like pray about it. I have to pray about that. You know what? And I know, well, how do I know it's God? How do I know? That bothers me that God could speak to you and you don't even know God's voice. It just bothers me that there's people, it's like, hey, Shelby can call me and say things to me, and I don't go, well, as soon as I've verified this is you, I'll get right on that. Why? Because that would irritate her. And usually when she calls me and says something to me that she expects me to do, she expects me to do it before she sees me next. Because if it didn't need to happen before she saw me next, she wouldn't say it when she said it, she'd say it when she saw me. So now that she said it to me through a different, strategy, she expects me to do it before she sees me. I don't have to verify it's her. Why? I know her voice. Maybe if you really want to get God talking to you so you really learn his voice, start obeying. Because the more obedient you become, the more communicate. I can't even say that. The more he communicates with you. He becomes a lot more verbal when you become a lot more obedient. Making sense? See, because you need your right now moment. You need to. So guess what it's going to take? Guess what it's going to take to have your right now moment? Right now obedience. Because Jesus says to the paralyzed guy, he says something that he's already said he can't do. See, and for some of y'all, he's already asked you to do something that you already can't do. You can't do it. Forgive. I can't. Oh, on your own, you can't. But if it's an act of obedience, you could. Right? So when Jesus speaks to him and he says, get up, I don't even think he reached out a hand and here, let me help you. That's not what Jesus did. Jesus looked at him and he said, you want this? I can't. He gave him all these excuses. Jesus ignores his stupid excuses. And Jesus says, get up. And right about now, I'm going to say this to you. And when I say it to you the next time, I'm going to say, get up. Okay, so the next time I say it to you, you're going to get up, but you need to understand that the paralysis that's on all of them will be broken when you get up. Like I believe that we're going to have a spiritual release of the right now breakthrough moment. And that when I speak to him, which I'm not speaking to him right now, but when I speak to him and I say, get up, that his obedience to the spoken word is what released his breakthrough in that right now moment. It's like, hey, do you want to justify your paralysis or would you like to demonstrate your obedience? Because through the demonstration of your obedience comes the breakthrough that you believe in for. See, God says, I'm not talking about putting it right way off in the distant future. I'm talking about right now. So doesn't that sound great? Doesn't it make you want to grab a white hanky, run around the room, and say, oh my God, he ain't talking about making me wait. He's talking about doing it right now. This is going to be so awesome. God's going to do something right now. Yeah, he's going to tell you something, and you're going to have to do it, not in the distant future, but right now. You're going to have an active obedience right now that says, I believe you, God, and I don't care what I couldn't do before, because when he talks to you, he empowers you to do what you couldn't do before. God's taking you to a place you couldn't get to before. You all right? I'm actually over just a little bit. Okay, you heard. Dude, remember that dude that built that boat? Huh? Because that guy made it up the ladder. See, he used his faith. He was obedient to God. Like when God spoke to him, he just did what he said. And he walked in a level of faith. He demonstrated faith on a daily basis. He humiliated hell on a daily basis. God started speaking to him, telling him to do stuff that nobody can stinking understand. Okay, here's what I want you to do. But because of his obedience, what did he do? The Bible says that he found favor in the sight of God. Can I just tell you something? That obedience always attracts favor. It's your obedience that's going to attract. It's like a magnetic field that'll pull you right on up the ladder. It'll get you up into the favor spot. I said it'll get you up into the favor spot. And that guy, he's like walking in faith. He's obeying God, but he had to take the second rung too. So he had to operate in forgiveness. Well, what did everybody say to him when he started building his boat? What did they say to him when he started planting the seeds to grow the trees, to watch the trees grow, so that he could fell the trees, so he could, mill the trees, so that he could lay the stuff out? And people are mocking him, and people are harassing him, and people are telling him he's an idiot. And he said, oh, okay, I forgive you. Would you like a job? And he hires the people who are opposing his purpose. And he builds the boat. And the rain begins to fall. Remember the story? So he gets a word from God. He begins to walk in obedience to God. He does everything that God's telling him to do. He attracts the favor of God. People are against him. People are fighting him. People are saying things to him. People are stabbing him in the back. People are talking about him behind his back. People are talking about him in front of his face. But he just continues to do what God's told him to do. And they build this thing. Ain't nobody ever seen anything like that before. And then one day, the skies begin to get gray. And then God says, hey, you might want to gather up your folks and get them up in the boat. And they get up in the boat, and they got all this other stuff in the boat. And then the door shuts, and then the rain begins to fall, and they're sitting down here, where they built this boat, and because it was easier to build the boat in the lowland, because that way when they fell the trees, they'd just take them downhill instead of trying to drag them uphill. So we're going to build this thing down in the lowland, and then the rain begins to fall, and the skies open up in 40 days and 40 nights. It's raining, and then the boat begins to float, and then we're spending all this time out here, and we're out in this, it's like this ain't no cruise ship, man. He's out there, and he's just continuing to obey God, and then one day the waters begin to recede, and the boat settling down, and the boat settles on a mountain, right? The boat settles on a mountain. Let me just say this much to you, that you have to go through to get to. And see, they started off down here, but they ended up here. I said they started off way down here, but they ended up way up here. I said they started off down on the low side, but they're going to end up way up on the high side. See, the enemy wants you to look at what you're going through, but I want you to look at where you're going to, because when you walk in obedience to God, it brings the favor of God. The favor of God is right now. It ain't in a distant future, but it's right now. Like it's going to behoove you to do what God says to do. And back over here, and Jesus walks up to the guy, and he says, do you want what I got to offer? And he says, I can't. And he gives him all those excuses, and Jesus ignores his stupid response, and he just says, get up. And he did what he couldn't do. He did what he couldn't do. He did. You're going to be doing what you couldn't do. I'm telling you, by the end of this year, you're going to be doing things that you couldn't even dream of at the beginning of the year. I said, by the end of this day, you can begin doing things you couldn't do at the beginning of this day. I know what you're doing. You're trying to get me to hurry up. Okay, sit down for 1 second. Jesus didn't stop there. It's important that you get this. Jesus said, roll up that mat. Roll up that mat. He rolled up his mat. Why do you have him roll up the mat? Because if you don't pick up your mat, there's an expectation that you'll return there. See, you need to tell the enemy, I don't live here anymore. I don't live in unforgiveness anymore. I don't live in brokenness anymore. I don't live on 6th Street anymore. Hello, somebody. I didn't say 6th. I said sick. Okay. You know, like pick it. But then he said something else to him. He said, pick up your mat. Start walking. Start walking. Some of you need to start taking steps. See, the paralysis was a result of you expecting somebody else to do something else. Well, you'll fall right back into your paralysis unless you start taking responsibility and just start walking. When does your right now moment happen? When does your right now moment happen? Well, when God says so. No. When does your right now moment occur? Well, that's up to you. That's up to you. How many suddenlies are there in the Bible? How many messages have you heard on the suddenlies? There's some amazing messages on the suddenlies. Suddenly. You study out the suddenlies, and what do you find out? That almost every suddenly is preceded by a long span of time. And then suddenly something happens. When's your suddenly going to happen? Depends on you. Are you going to pick up your mat? Are you going to declare, I refuse to stay there? And I'm going to start walking. I'm going to be who God says I am. I'm going to do what God says I can do. I'm not going to remain the same. I'm changing. I'm growing. I'm not waiting. I'm not waiting on one of you guys to like me. Some of you guys are so moved. You're paralyzed by the likes of others. You pull out your device and you go through everybody's stuff, and you scroll and like. You don't even care. You just want them to know you got the bag. You're not defined by the likes of many. You are defined by the love of one. You should not be paralyzed. Like, I want you to bring your friends and always come to church and build a future and humiliate hell together. I want you to lock shields with us and go into the future. But some of you have suddenly realized that not everybody who starts with you stays with you. You're paralyzed because of the abandonment of someone. Like, you went through a divorce, and now you feel marked, and you identify with what's left your life. Can I just say this really, really quick? That your future's never going to be built on who left. Like, I'm sorry that you went through that, but you got to go through to get to. You got to go through to get to. And God's not building your life off of who left you. Sometimes someone leaves your life. It's kind of like getting a divorce, but you're still married. Like, you have a legal document, but all you talk about is the person that you used to be married to. All you think about, like, you think about them more now than you did when you were married. Your future's not going to be built on who left. It's built on who remains. Dude, I know I'm speaking to somebody. Who knows their Bible really well? Uncle Kevin. Okay, let's have a little Bible test for a second. I know I'm supposed to be wrapping up, but God's working on somebody. Remember Ruth's sister? Huh? Yeah, he goes, he's going to ask me her name. What's her name? Huh? No. Say it loud. Orpah. Orpah, which is still available for a baby name if you're looking for something. Her husband, Kilion, I think that one's still available too, okay? So there's a reason you can open your Bible to the book of Ruth. And there's a reason nobody can hardly remember Orpah's name. Ruth and Orpah made a similar commitment, but Ruth remained, Orpah left. Don't separate stand your ground. Stand your ground. See, here's the deal. Whatever excuse you've had that's kept you paralyzed, we're breaking that off of you today. Not in the distant future. You hear me, Todd? I'm prophesying. You hear me? Like you've been waiting for something to shift. God's not wanting to change your circumstances around you. He's wanting to change you right in the middle of your circumstance. He's wanting to empower you. I said he's wanting to empower you. You hear me, Michael? Like God's getting ready to do a right now moment. He's giving you a right now opportunity. Now, you can come up with 100 reasons why, or you can take one step of obedience. You know, back to this jackwagon. You know what's awesome is he picks up his bed, he starts walking, and the church folk, instead of going, "Oh my gosh, look what the Lord has done," they said, "You can't do that today. You shouldn't be doing. Who gave you the right?" One of the translations says, "Who gave you the right to carry your mat today?" I love it. In almost every translation, it uses this phrase when Jesus spoke to him, but it was on the Sabbath. And all the religious thinkers, they were just like blown out of the water because, what's happening to my microphone? Is my battery going out? Is that what's going on? Do we not know? Listen, when you want me to quit, give me a much more subtle thing than that. Because all that's going to do is like irritate me. And then I'll preach harder. Okay. But what was I talking about? Yeah. Who gives you the right? Who gives you the right? Who gives you the right? Who gives you the right to do what you couldn't do before? Who told you that you should walk away and forgive them? Who told you that you should go just begin to walk in your health? Who told you that you should, who told you that you should just go ahead and do your business? Who told you that you shouldn't stay in the state of paralysis and fit in with the rest of us? Who told you that, who made you think that you are so special that you could walk in freedom instead of carry the bondage like the rest of us? And his answer was, the one who healed me. Come on, somebody. Come on. Hey, you know what I want you to do? We're gonna do the camp meeting wrap up, okay? Here's what I want you to do. Man, you got an area of paralysis in your life? Have you pushed the right now off into the distant future? Have you had a sudden revelation? Am I preaching to somebody today that says, you know what it is? This message was for me because I came in here just expecting to go home the way I came, but I realized that I could have a right now moment. And if I'm preaching to you, and don't stand up because somebody else did, but we're gonna do the count, okay? We gotta do the count. We're gonna do the one, okay? One. You ready? When I get to three, you're gonna get, just as an act of obedience to the Jesus speaking to you today. And he said, do you want what I have to offer? It's no more I can't. It's like, go ahead, give it to me. I'm ready. You ready? I'm ready. You ready? Hey God, I'm ready. One, I'm ready. And when I say stand up, we're gonna get to three. I'm gonna say stand up, and you're not gonna just like, no, you're gonna bounce up. You're gonna look out, devil, here I come. Are you ready? I'm ready. You ready? Two. And when we get to three, what are you gonna do? Yeah, you know what you're gonna do, right? Look at your neighbor and say, you got this, because some of you guys are kind of slow. Are you ready? 1, 2, 3. Come on, give God your praise. Give God your praise. Have your breakthrough right here, right now. Right here, right now. Right here, right now. Somebody give God praise.